Hi, I'm Stuart.
Hi, I'm Oz.
I'm US Slammer from Silver Records in I think the new album's isn't as hard. It's much more kind of us expressing ourselves and getting a bit deeper with it. You know, I'm a great believer that albums shouldn't be just about boom boom, crash crash, bang bang. You know, I think you know it's really good to kind of, you know, we buy lots of records anyway, lots of things influence us. We're into lots of different moods and music anyway, so it's good to express that side in the album, you know.
Yeah, it was definitely in our kind of psyche not to produce an album of kind of minimalism. Do you know what I mean? That's not what we're kind of about.
I think you can take those influences. I think the problem with every genre and every musical form is that when all of a sudden it's established, oh hey, it's minimal now. Everybody wants to make those records, and people make those records by listening to, you know, copying basically. So you know when you go on kind of Beatport or something, you hear 100 records that sound, you know, very similar. I would never say that we like, you know, we like all kinds of music, all kinds of electronic music, and I think that comes across in the album. There's influences from that genre in there, but it wouldn't be fun for us. It wouldn't be a slam record if all of a sudden we just started making, you know, we have to do what we feel's right for us, and you know, I think there's a real love of you know, the kind of early Detroit thing in there, but trying to not just make records that sound like that, trying to, you know, use other influences and try to push that forward and do something different with it, you know. Because you know, I think that's a great thing about electronic music. It needs to progress. It needs to have. You need to cross appropriate. You need to take little things from here and little things from there and kind of try and join them together and try and come up with something new and different.
Some of the tracks came really quickly, you know. Others kind of elements of them came kind of reasonably quickly, but then took a while to kind of finish. We took a bit of time kind of producing it as well. Yeah. This is a kind of bit of a change for us because we've always been finishing albums in other people's studios, and just have the kind of freedom to spend as long as you want. I say that with some reservation because it's never as long as you want. Nothing is never ever as long as you want.
This album was kind of written as a body of work, if you like. You know, what the, you know, first track was supposed to be like that, the second, you know, it was written to tell a story and flow. I guess that when you have that kind of bigger picture, when you look at the whole piece of music, you know, as one, then that does throw a few problems in, you know. So you have to kind of, you're not always thinking of just that one track at that specific time. I mean, you're thinking of the whole picture.
The album wasn't written A to B, do you know what I mean? It was more kind of a feel rather than, do you know what I mean? This and this. Things could have moved around a little bit, do you know what I mean? But it was a feel I think we were trying to go for overall with the album, the way it developed.
Influences are a weird thing because people just say, oh yeah, that sounds like, did you mean to sound like this guy? Or did you mean, and the answer is kind of no, really. You know, I think more than any other album we've done, I think we've tried to sort of steer clear of obvious things like that, you know, and try to kind of not use the most obvious things. But then, yeah, would it be then a Reluctant Traveller? Yeah, John Carpenter, Reluctant Traveller. Yeah, funny you say that. Yeah, but that's because we don't really listen to John Carpenter religiously.
Well, no.
There's a lot of King Tubby influences in there, like it just Ord's was a massive reggae fan, still is, and we just had a pile of stack of dub albums, and sort of sample and try and listen to, and sort of just that idea of the way that music can work on two different levels. There can be something quite emotive and musical, and then on the other hand, there can be something that's actually fucking with your head. So there's a few tracks like that in there.
My Robot Friend was a remote collaboration in that most of it was sent back and forth via kind of MP3s at first, and then when he was happy with what he'd done, he sent the WAVs across, and basically just gave us a carte blanche to do what we wanted. He didn't care whether we used kind of one syllable or the whole song. So I think it's fair to say we kind of pulled it apart a bit. It's not in the form that he gave it to us in. But he was very happy with the way it turned out. And Dot, we've worked with a number of times before, and she's just the easiest person to work with. She's a mate, to be honest.
Yeah. Nowadays you get a lot of records with vocals on that are just there for the sake of it. So I think we were very conscious of that we didn't want to have just, like here's the couple of token vocal tracks on the electronic album, we actually wanted to have, people we really wanted to work with, and we wanted to have them quality, and we wanted to have significance within the whole project, we didn't want to just stick them in there for the sake of it.
I think other times some people just ruin a perfectly good instrumental by throwing, trying to force a vocal in there in some way, shape or form, which we did suffer from.
We're going to hopefully start a new label for just club stuff, just kind of
Bosh.
bang it out. So we just wanted to keep that kind of separate from the album. We're pretty choosy about what we put out as a slam record. I think we've got this thing since we made Positive Education. We've got this thing that we can't really kind of
I keep looking up at the album.
So we've just got this thing where we made these perfectly reasonable tracks, but they're kind of you just get that thing where you don't want to sort of say this is the new song.
And they're things for kind of playing out, and they work in their own kind of own space and time and level and stuff like that. And as Stuart says, there's a lot of stuff we kind of write that never makes the album, and a lot of it's damn fine stuff, that should come out in some guise or form, and you just can't do that, with kind of slam and record label. There's kind of thing. Certain avenues you must take, and only so much the label can deal with from any one artist. So hence a kind of another That's your wanking arm, isn't it?
Got that video.